Hello, I'm Neil Gresswell and I work for the Forestry Commission's Health and Safety Department. I'm travelling today to meet Gareth Hopkins of our training department, Learning and Development. We're going to discuss the contents of a seminar to support OGB38 hand-arm vibration syndrome management.
Morning, Gareth.
Oh, morning, Neil. How's it going, mate? Good journey?
Right. Yeah,
that's fine.
You all set up?
I think so, yeah. I wouldn't mind just having a quick run through before we start, if that's okay.
Good idea.
Nice one.
Right, Gareth. OGB38, we're just looking at the hand-arm vibration stuff. Where are we going to start this seminar, do you think?
I thought we need to set the ground rules and tell people what HAVs is, really.
Right, start with an explanation of HAVs.
Yep, that'll be good.
Hand-arm vibration syndrome is an injury to the blood vessels caused by vibrating machinery. It damages the blood vessels and stops blood flowing to the extremities, which can be extremely painful. And once the damage is done, it is irreversible.
Right, Gareth. Good explanation, I think, of HAVs and what it is. Where next?
Thought we'd introduce OGB38 and the management system that's contained within it now.
Good.
Go through all of the system, make sure people know what's detailed in OGB38.
Where are you going to start in OGB38? It's quite a big publication.
We'll start with the two pieces of information we need to actually put into our management system that'll actually give us our vibration levels.
Which one first?
The vibration magnitude of the machine that we're actually working with.
Main points?
Main points is they'll have to get the information from the manufacturer, whether they get that from the handbook or getting in touch with the manufacturer or websites. Making sure that if there's a 2 or 3 magnitude levels in there, they take the highest one, because sometimes there's 2 or 3 handles on a piece of equipment. And also reinforce that the manufacturers have actually produced these figures for us, but they were for brand new machines in sort of workshop styles, you know, straight out from the box basically.
To work out the magnitude level of your piece of machinery, first you must find the owner's manual. If you do not have a paper copy of the owner's manual, most owner's manuals these days can be downloaded from the internet. In this example, we have an owner's manual for a Husqvarna 357 chainsaw. Once you have your owner's manual, you need to navigate your way to the technical data section . Once you've navigated to the technical data section of your manual, you need to find the section holding the vibration level figures. In this manual, we find the figures under the vibration level section of the technical data, and we can also tell this is the vibration magnitude as the figures quoted are in meters per second squared. In this example, as with all multi-handled vibration tools, the manufacturers will quote vibration levels for each handle. To enter into the calculator, we will always take the highest figure, thus erring on the side of safety. So for this example, we would use a magnitude level of 4.2 meters per second squared to enter into the HAVs calculator.
First variable covered then, Gareth. Next one, operator exposure duration.
Yeah, I mean they call it exposure duration in the OGB, but most of the people know it as trigger time. And basically, trigger time is the amount of time an operator is holding onto the machine by the handle or the vibrating surface.
Right, we've looked at the manufacturer's vibration levels.
Yep.
We've looked at the length of time that people might be in contact with vibration.
Yep.
Last two things then, the calculator for controlling it.
Yep.
And the two definitions that are in the law on vibration.
Yeah, I think we need to do the definitions next, don't we? Then we've got everything, all the background done, then we can just go into actually how we practically manage things.
Exposure action value is the limit of daily exposure to vibration above which you must take action to reduce exposure. The vibration level is measured in meters per second squared. This is an acceleration value that is averaged over an 8-hour day. Exposure limit value is the level of daily exposure to vibration above which you must not expose employees on any single day. The vibration level is measured in meters per second squared. This is an acceleration value that is averaged over an 8-hour work.
We've covered all the background information, Gareth.
Yep.
Where they get stuff from. The coloured stickers we put on equipment to advise operators then. That next?
Yeah, and what we can do is we can put the information into the HSE vibration calculator and we can show people what that means and what sticker goes on which store.
Once you have found the magnitude level of your piece of equipment from the manufacturer's guidance, you need to open the HSE's hand-arm vibration exposure calculator. This can be either found on the HSE's website or following a link from the OGB38 pages on the Forestry Commission's intranet site. To work out the sticker colour for each piece of machinery, first you must find the magnitude level from the manufacturer's guidance. Once you have this figure, you would enter it into the vibration magnitude box on the spreadsheet. For example, a Bosch drill driver has a magnitude level of less than 2.5 meters per second squared. For this example, we will assume a magnitude level of 2.4 meters per second squared. We can see in this example that this machine will expose operators to 12 points per hour. You would need to be using the piece of equipment for 8 hours 41 minutes before you would exceed the exposure action value, and you would need to be using the piece of machinery for more than 24 hours before you exceeded the exposure limit value. Assuming an 8-hour working day, if I put in 8 into the exposure duration box, we find that this piece of equipment will expose our operators to 92 points in an 8-hour working day. Therefore, this tool would be marked with a green sticker as the exposure points are below 100. In our next example, we will use the figures for a Husqvarna 357 XPG chainsaw. Looking in the manufacturer's guidance, we find that this machine has a magnitude level of 4.22 meters per second squared. In this example, we can see this will expose our operators to 36 points per hour, and our operators will exceed the exposure action value after 2 hours 48 minutes of use, and the exposure limit value will be exceeded after 11 hours 14 minutes of use. Adding in a typical 8-hour working day into the exposure duration column, we will find that this machine will expose our operators to 285 points per day. Therefore, this machine will be marked with a yellow sticker as the exposure points per day are over 100. For our next example, we will use the figures for a WP1550 vibro plate. The manufacturer states a magnitude level of 10.8 meters per second squared. As you can see, entering this figure into the calculator, the tool can exceed the exposure action value after 26 minutes of use. If we use the tool for more than 1 hour 43 minutes, we also exceed the exposure limit value. If we put in a typical working day of 8 hours, we can see partial exposure points of 1,868. This tool would be marked with a red sticker as this figure here exceeds 400.
Last bit, I think then. Been a busy day, a lot of information for people, but the last bit is managing exactly how much vibration we expose our people to, particularly when they use different tools in one day.
Yeah, so what we could do then is we could go back to projector, look at the calculator again, and actually put in some real figures for a typical working day for a member of staff.
We also need to be aware of using tools on sites with different magnitude levels, i.e. different sticker colours. Using the figures from the last example, if we were working on a site using a whacker plate and the chainsaw, we may not be able to use the chainsaw or the whacker plate all day. For example, if we use the whacker plate with a magnitude level of 10.8 meters per second squared, and we use that for 1 hour, we have a running total so far of 233 exposure points. If we then wanted to use the chainsaw with a magnitude level of 4.22 meters per second squared for the rest of the working day, so that's for another 7 hours, we could see our maximum exposure points have been exceeded. We are allowed 400 points per day, and with this scenario we would have reached 483. We would therefore need to adjust the amount of time we used one of the tools. So let's say we use the chainsaw for 6 hours. We can notice at our total exposure points we still exceed 400 points of 447. Let's try 4 hours 30 minutes. We can now see that our exposure points are at 394. So in this example, an operator could work on this site. They could use the whacker plate for a maximum of 1 hour and then the chainsaw for a maximum of 4.5 hours. They would then no longer be able to use any vibration tools on that site in that day.
Thanks very much, Gareth. That's a good day's work. Wish you luck with the seminars.
Yeah, well, thanks for that, mate.
Key points for operators: monitor usage on red tools, keep tools well maintained, take regular breaks, wear dry gloves, choose low vibration tools. Key points for supervisors: monitor tool usage, ensure health monitoring takes place, reduce vibration as far as reasonably practicable. EAV, the exposure action value. Up to the EAV, the tool will be identified by a green sticker. If the tool exceeds this, it will be identified by a yellow sticker. This is still within the daily limits, but we should try to reduce exposure where possible, and the employee has to be on the health surveillance system. ELV, the exposure limit value. If a tool has a red sticker, it has the potential to exceed the ELV, which could cause considerable damage to the operator, and usage must be monitored to ensure the limit is not exceeded. If possible, red tools should be replaced.